podcast show. So in this podcast show, I want to talk about property. And in particular, I wanted to talk about where we actually are in the property cycle right now in the UK, because there's all sorts of stuff going on, obviously. And do you know what? There is always something going on, regardless of what's really going on in the UK. Within the property industry itself, there's always opportunities. So even if property prices are at all-time highs, which they are right now, there are some other opportunities out there that you should be taking advantage of. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's session. And, you know, in fact, I was having a conversation with an estate agent this morning. We're talking about properties being all-time high. So first up, properties may well be at an all-time high, but there's usually a big thing that skews all the data for everywhere else in the UK, and that is London. Now, obviously, if you live in London, nowhere else exists. Leeds doesn't exist, Sheffield doesn't exist, and who on earth would want to live up there anyway? Because there's no jobs, and all they have is cobbled streets. They don't even have colour TV yet. That's what people say down in London. But what we recognise is that actually London does skew a lot of the pricing, and you know, because averages are averages, right? So if average property price is, I don't know what it is, 386,000, let's just say, do you think that's the average property price in Leeds? Definitely isn't. Do you think that's the average property price in Scotland or Southwest Wales? Absolutely not. And so you know, the numbers that are bandied about and thrown about are usually completely and utterly inaccurate, even right down to one local place like Hare Hills, for example. We used to be it's still there. There's a street called Bellbrook Avenue, and I was going to buy a place. It was 18 grand, and I pulled out because it was just an absolute dive. They check you for weapons, and if you didn't have a weapon, they'd give you one, kind of thing, you know. And if you drove less than 15 miles an hour, you'd lose your wheels because you'd end up on bricks, because someone had, you know, if you stopped at traffic lights, that's it, you'd jack your car up and steal your wheels. So you avoid those places, and yet there were other properties at the time going for like 60 grand, just a few streets away. And it's because those streets, usually because the residents on those streets, by the way, if you live in Bellbrook now, apologies for that, but it's true. I went to view one of these houses, the one that I was buying for 18 grand, and it had a dormer window which was all smashed, and it had this little boy who was about 5 or 6 who'd climbed out, and he was on the roof of one of these houses. And you're just like, what? So, you know, you phone the police. Obviously, it's Hare Hills, so nothing ever happens down Hare Hills. But what I'm saying is that these average property prices that they keep bandying around, they're completely and utterly wrong, because you have one street and then the street behind it have got two very, very different prices. And also, then you've got different property types. So as well as different locations, like London, for example, really skewing the average price of a property compared with everywhere else, frankly. You've also got, you know, like 2-bed houses, 3-bed houses, 4-bed houses. They are operating very differently than, for example, city centre flats. And this, for me, this is where the opportunity lies, because city centre flats have got a couple of things going against them right now. Number one, you've got Grenfell, which was unfortunate, the tower in London that burnt down like 8 or 9 years ago. Doesn't seem that long ago, but you had that, and then you had all this cladding, all this fire cladding. We had to pay £10,000 per flat. We had 2 flats in this block for a waking watch, which is basically a little old man sat there for 24 hours a day to make sure that this building that had been up for 25 years didn't set on fire. Needless to say, to this day, still hasn't set on fire, but it cost me 20 grand because I had to pay, because I've got 2 flats there, I had to pay for this waking watch. So the cladding problem has caused massive amounts of problems with people, myself included, being able to sell, being able to offload some of these properties. And sometimes they've got the EWS1, which is going to be paid for by the management. Sometimes it's not being paid for by the management. I know people have killed themselves because the cost of cladding was like 120 grand. They bought their flat for 120 grand in Leeds city centre. I know one guy in particular, it was in the Yorkshire Post, and he killed himself because of the cladding scandal. Nowhere near Grenfell, in Leeds, because he was going to go bankrupt. I think it's a daft thing to unlive yourself because you're going to go bankrupt. You go bankrupt. It's fine. Go get a job or something. It's, you know, it's no big deal. But anyway, that's what happens. So you've got the cladding situation that's going against these city centre flats. Then you've got leasehold situation that's going against these flats, and this is the opportunity, folks. people aren't buying these flats because of cladding problems. Great. People are not buying these flats because you've got these leaseholder problems. Ground rents have gone from 250 to 500. We've gone from £150 to £225 in the last 3 or 4 years. That's what, a 75% increase, more or less? Yeah, 75%. So where other people see problems, you should see opportunities. And if there's one thing that you're going to learn about being a property investor, is that you solve problems, right? Like, you might have your own problems as well, by the way. Let's face it, who's not got problems, right? But you are a problem solver. And if you can see things that other people can't see, and this is really where we've made most of our money, is just by being very knowledgeable, having lots of fingers in lots of pies, and knowing all these different things, and then connecting all these dots together so that you can actually see what's coming. And I said this morning to the estate agent, we've got flats up for sale, we've dropped the price on them, and I'm like, God, we're just giving this stuff away. And I hate it, right? So I'm like, no, just take everything off the market for now. Anything city centre, and we've not got many houses left because we sold most of them, but city centre stuff in Leeds, let's just remove those from the market right now, because the city centre in Leeds hasn't really gone up in value over the last 20 years, which means it's due. Do you remember Notting Hill? Before the film Notting Hill, it was a proper dive. And now Notting Hill flats are like going for £1,000,000. So if you bought yourself a council flat in Notting Hill, you landed on your feet all right. And that's what happens. And city centre flats in big conurbations like Leeds, like Birmingham, like Manchester. I can only speak for Leeds because that's all I know, right? I've got a flat in Manchester. We bought for 145, we're selling it for 160. We've had it 20 odd years. How ridiculous is that? Like, utterly ridiculous. Service charges gone up, ground rents have gone up, but the flat value itself hasn't really gone up because Grenfell and the cladding, leaseholder problems, getting mortgages on these. Sometimes they had like 99-year leases or 125-year leases. We've got 80 years left, 75 years left. Sometimes we bought it and it had 100 years or maybe 80 years on it, and it's only got 55 now. Like, these are problems that people are desperately trying to get rid of. And whenever you see a problem, you should be seeing opportunity. So valuable is that one piece of advice I'm going to tell you again. Where other people see problems, you should see opportunity. You don't want to buy property because it's very tax heavy. Yeah, so you buy it right, you buy it through a limited company, you put a wrap around it, which has got all sorts of additional benefits, by the way, of going through a limited company, like being able to offset all sorts of different things, very tax efficient, of course. And if you can buy properties in the right way, it can be tax efficient. But for everybody else who bought properties in our own names, which is what we did 25 years ago, I've been in this game for 26 years. That's what we did. We got screwed by section, section 24. Is that section 24? It is section 24, which absolutely screws on tax. We now pay tax on revenue, not tax on profits, which, if you're wondering why your rents have gone up so much, that's actually one of the reasons. And also, interestingly, because your mortgages have gone up so much, but the city centre flat prices haven't gone up. And a lot of buy-to-let investors bought in the city centre flats. So now you've got buy-to-let investors like me, been in the game for 25, 26, 30 years. We cannot we cannot sell our city centre flats, and they haven't even gone up that much, even if we can sell them. So now I've said to my estate agent, look, just get rid of them, take them off the market. We'll keep them for another couple of years. We'll rent them out. We're not losing money on them. That's fine. We'll just hold our breath for the next couple of years. And it's devastating for me because I want to move on with my life. I don't want to be tied down by property. But one of the downsides of buying property is that it's such an illiquid situation. Like my Tesla shares, before Tesla shares crashed. Should we just find out what Tesla shares are today, by the way? Before my Tesla shares went down in value, I actually sold them. And you know what? We're actually not doing so bad. 255. We're all hoping we're going to go under 200 to see what Elon Musk does with that. But for 221 on the 8th, which is 6 days ago, 272, 252, 255. We're going up and down, folks. And I think Elon's a little bit screwed. If you buy in at 220, you can sell them for 250, 270. They're going to bounce around there. I don't know what that is. What, 15% bouncing around? Some opportunity there. But this is what we're saying about opportunities, right? Where other people see problems, you can potentially see solutions and see opportunities. And with city centre flats, I think there's a big opportunity there. Now, sometimes you cannot get finance on these. You've got to be a cash buyer. There's some flats in Bradford. I mean, if you look at Bradford, and I'm not going to share screen on this because I'm on my mobile phone right now. But if we look at Bradford, BD1, let's just go and have a look and see what those flats are going for. And these are, you can buy these flats for cash, right? And you're like, oh, I've not got the cash. I've only got 30 grand. I've only got 50 grand. Let's have a look. BD1. That's Bradford. Now, you might also say, Dan, last place I want to be buying right now is Bradford. Maybe. Bradford's just Bradford, isn't it? I don't think it's ever been a nice place, quite frankly. I apologise if you live there, but Bradford's just a challenging place. It just is, right? There's no easy way of saying it. Let's have a look here. Lowest price, BD1. We're looking at flats just to see what the opportunity is here. And, you know, if you're buying flats, not if you're sourcing, but if you're buying flats, there's a great opportunity here. 4 grand. 1 bed sale. This, by the way, it's going through an auction and it keeps on going up through an auction. And, you know, if it had car parking, you know, sometimes I don't live in the UK anymore. I live in Spain, but actually just having a little shitty studio, and this is little and it is shitty, by the way. You probably get mugged just going in your front doors. It keeps on coming up, this one. Anyway, this is one 4 grand. Another one guide price, 7,500. These are ridiculous prices, right? 9 grand, 9 grand. Let's try and get rid of auctions. Filters. Yeah, we don't want auctions. Let's try and get rid of auctions. But look, it still shows auctions, even though we ask not to show us auctions. But this is where the opportunity is. You know, if you've got an investor who's in London and you're like, do you know what? There's this flat and I reckon we can get it for 20 grand. We'll rent it for 400 a month, 500 a month. What's the return on that? That's pretty good, you know. Like, I don't know what the return is. 4 grand is 5 grand. Sorry, 400 a month is 5 grand a year. Your return on investment is 5 years. That's amazing. It's got 112 years remaining, 250 quid, guide price 10 grand. We did switch off auctions, but obviously it then insists on sending us lots of auctions. Offers in the region of 29,000, 5th floor, offering self-contained accommodation, proximity to Bradford University. That's pretty cool. Like I've not looked at rents, by the way, but this is Bradford, and Bradford's a bit of a dump anyway. But if you went to Leeds, let's have a look at LS1 in Leeds. You're probably talking less than 100 grand. And on 100 grand, what's the sort of income that you're going to get on that? So Bedford Street, this is Bedford Chambers. I've got 2 here, by the way, and I think I've probably owned this flat. No, not that one. I've owned a studio flat, but this one's going for 90 grand. I don't think it has any windows, by the way. That one, but another one, 106. That's not bad. Investors only. When it says investors only, probably not got an EWS1. And also they're selling it tenanted as well. By the way, that's probably it. We'll be selling with tenants in situ for immediate income, right? Because there's a lot of landlords right now selling properties and they don't want to evict a tenant, put a property on for 2 months and then have 6 months for it to go through, because that's 8 months worth of no income when you still got £700 a month mortgage, and you know, you used to be bringing in £1,000, at least make a little bit of money. Although you probably lose money because you're being taxed at 40% on a grand a month. Ridiculous, right? And actually, the studio flat that I used to own is for sale. It's a beautiful flat, by the way. You should buy it. It's 115 grand. And you know what? I would actually buy that and just have it as you know, like a crash pad for whenever I went back to the UK. But it's got no parking. It's a bit of a pain, really, quite frankly. And it's up with Park Lane, who are not a very nice company, so definitely don't buy through them. But this is where your opportunity is in 2025. City centre flats, wonderful, wonderful opportunity, because you've got these like a perfect storm of combination, a combination of a perfect storm. I don't know how you'd say that, which is the cladding scandal. You've got the leasehold scandal. Now, by the way, what do you think will happen in the next couple of years? The leasehold thing will be resolved. It'll all go to freehold or whatever that's going to be called, common hold, I think it will be. And then you'll have moved past all the cladding scandal stuff, and then these prices are going to rocket. So the flat that's, you know, probably worth, I don't know, 225, that we bought at 200 20 years ago. Ridiculous, right? Beautiful flat on Park Row, city centre, right slap bang in the middle. You've got Slug and Lettuce on one side. You've got the financial district behind it. Amazing location, right? It's hardly gone up. It's gone up 10% in 20 years. Whoopie fucking do, right? Um, in 10 years, that'd be worth 300. And you're like, but why? Why is that? And it's because the cladding scandal's gone, the leasehold situation will be done, and that particular building has a ton of fire issues because of the cladding scandal, which are currently being rectified. And again, that's the third part of that puzzle. Once that is actually then resolved, these city centre flats in the next 10 or 15 years, so you buy them below market value now, you put in offers on everything, right? And you somehow find finance. If it's EWS1, you need to pay in cash. That's the problem. But not all of them are like that. Some of them have EWS1, which is coming, and it's all been guaranteed that it's going to be paid for. So a great opportunity there, I think, to take those on, get mortgages on them, because the EWS1 is coming. They'll lend on that, I believe. And you should check with your mortgage broker just in case. And then you rent them as normal. You hold them for 10, 15 years. Then when we get over the Grenfell thing and all the cladding scandal, when we get over all the leasehold and the ground rent issues that we've got going on right now, and fire safety and all of that kind of thing, you're going to be able to absolutely sell those for an absolute mint. And that, I think, is a really, really good strategy. Obviously, don't hold me to it. You have to make your own decisions in life and when building wealth. And we're moving out of property. Like, we make no bones about this. We don't try and hide it. I've been an investor for 26 years. I am a tired investor. I have no patience for tenants anymore. I used to have, I'm old ish, I'm tired ish, I'm done with tenants, I'm done with property, I'm done with Leeds City Council, I'm done with mortgage companies and all that stuff. I'm so done with it. But where I am after 26 years is different than where most other people are. We got into this at age 26, and it's been very, very good. At times when I've really struggled to work because I've had stuff going on in my life, separation and kids stuff through family court and all that kind of stuff. When we've had all that stuff going on, property has been there and paid all the bills while I was going through that. I just don't have any patience left for it. But I'm at a different stage in my life than other people. We live overseas, very difficult to manage, although we've done it for 12 years here overseas, but it's just increasingly more challenging to manage. So we've gone heavily into digital marketing with the agency and with the online courses and so on, which reminds me, by the way, the online course you should be getting is the property sourcing course for 27 quid. I should also add the award-winning property trading course. We were just interviewed by Sourcing Investments last week on their podcast, and we're giving away lots of nuggets in their podcast about property sourcing and how to do it and how to find how to find investors and how to find properties up for sale and all of that kind of thing. Anyway, it's all included in that course. Go and take a look. And if you've got any questions in the meantime, we'll catch up with you on the next one. Please find me on social media, drop me a PM. If you've got a specific question, ask me there. We'll do a podcast around that, or we'll include that in one of our other podcasts as well. Other than that, have a wicked day. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you have a good week, and we'll speak to you soon.